Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, so don't forget to leave a comment and share these stories with someone who might need them. Each story is meant to help you pause, reflect, and think about your own relationships, how you love, how you heal, and how you grow. If you'd like more insight into the stories or want to add one to your next book club, visit graceguidance.com. You can find the full collection there, along with reflection prompts to keep the conversations going. And remember, every story in Heart Chat Stories is a chance to rediscover yourself, one honest chat at a time.
Without saying anything, he moved to the sideboard against the wall, where a small tray sat. Water, paper cups, a kettle someone had thoughtfully left warm. He poured 2 drinks, unhurried, and crossed back toward her. He didn't stand over her. He sat, across from her, angled slightly, close enough to feel present, but not imposing. "You know," he said carefully, offering her a cup, "we don't actually have to compete." Kennedy scoffed, taking the drink and lifting it to her lips. "Right," she said dryly. "Like you don't have people pushing you to succeed." He watched her over the rim of his own cup. "I do." She lowered the drink, waiting. "But I want to succeed," he continued. "Not at any cost." That landed. She looked away toward the window, jaw tight. "That's easy to say when the stakes aren't personal." He didn't interrupt. "My brothers are watching this bid like it's a verdict," she said quietly. "Waiting for me to mess up. Waiting for proof that I can't carry what our father built." She shook her head once. "They don't say it outright, but it's there. If I lose this contract, if I stumble, they'll call it concern. Let us help. And suddenly, I'm not leading anymore." Sysco's expression hardened, not toward her, but toward the situation. "So this isn't just about winning," he said. "No," she replied. "It's about keeping my hands on something that's been trying to slip out of them since the day my father stepped back." She took another sip, her grip tightening around the cup. "I don't get to fail quietly. I don't get to regroup without consequences." Sysco leaned forward slightly. "That's not pressure," he said softly. "That's a siege." She huffed a humorless laugh. "Feels like it." They sat in silence for a moment, the library holding their words without judgment. "You know what I see?" he said, finally. She glanced at him, wary. "This should be good?" "I see someone who's been carrying legacy like armor," he said. "And armor is heavy, especially when you never get to take it off." Her throat tightened. "That doesn't mean you're wrong to wear it," he added quickly. "It means you deserve rest without being replaced." She studied him, his calm, his conviction, the way he spoke without trying to fix her. "This doesn't change anything," she said. "I still need that contract." "I know," he said. "And I still want it." A beat. "But I don't want to win by breaking something you're trying to protect." The words settled between them, dangerous in their sincerity. Kennedy looked back out the window, the tension in her shoulders easing just a fraction. "This is the part where I'm supposed to tell you to stay in your lane," she said. "And will you?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "No." His smile was small, restrained. "Good." Because in that quiet room, with the past spread across the table and the future pressing in, something had shifted. Competition was still there, but now it was sharing space with trust, and neither of them knew which one would win. The job site buzzed with motion, steel clanging, voices calling measurements, engines humming low beneath the late morning sun. Kennedy stood near the foundation line, hard hat on, tablet in hand, issuing instructions with the quiet confidence her crew trusted. This was her element. Until it wasn't. "Ken?" The voice cut through the noise like it didn't belong there. She stiffened before turning. Both of her brothers stood just beyond the temporary fencing. Marcus with his arms crossed, jaw tight, and Lionel pacing a step behind him, agitation written all over his posture. They looked out of place in pressed shirts and concern masquerading as entitlement. "What are you doing here?" Kennedy asked, keeping her tone even. Marcus glanced around. "We've been trying to reach you." "I'm working." "That city project," Lionel jumped in. "We're hearing things." Kennedy exhaled slowly. "Here we go." "You're hearing speculation," she said, "which you're not involved in." Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice. "This bid is bigger than you, Ken. If you miscalculate—" "I won't," she said flatly. "You don't know that," Lionel added. "Dad's name is attached to this. If you lose—" "I said I've got it." They moved closer still, boxing her in with good intentions and old patterns. Concern wrapped tight around control. From a few yards away, Sysco had arrived quietly, taking in the scene without interrupting. He hadn't planned to step in. This wasn't his place. Until it was. "Gentlemen." His voice was calm, steady, and loud enough to cut through the tension without raising volume. All three of them turned. Sysco walked up, hands visible, posture relaxed, but grounded in authority earned, not borrowed. "I couldn't help overhearing," he continued. "And while I understand family concern, cornering a project lead on her own site is neither productive nor respectful." Marcus frowned. "And you are?" "Sysco Thorne," he said evenly. "Her competitor." That gave them pause. "Which means," Sysco added, eyes sharp now, "I've reviewed her numbers, her timelines, and her execution strategy. If anyone here is qualified to speak on her capability, it's me." Lionel scoffed. "So you think she can handle this?" Sysco didn't hesitate. "I know she already is." Silence followed, heavy, uncomfortable. "And let me be clear," Sysco said, his tone still measured but unmistakably firm. "If Blake Construction loses this bid, it won't be because of mismanagement. It will be because the city chose differently. Those are not the same thing." His gaze held Marcus's. "And applying pressure under the guise of concern doesn't strengthen legacy. It fractures it." The warning was subtle. The message was not. Marcus cleared his throat. "We're just trying to protect what Dad built." Sysco nodded once. "Then the best thing you can do is trust the person currently building it." Another beat. Finally, the brothers stepped back, retreating but not defeated. "We'll talk later," Marcus said to Kennedy. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. They left. The noise of the site rushed back in as if it had been holding its breath. Kennedy let out a shaky exhale she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Thank you," she said quietly, removing her hard hat. "You didn't have to do that." "I know," Sysco replied, "but I wanted to." They walked a few steps away from the activity, finding a pocket of quiet near the equipment trailers. He studied her for a moment. Why does your father allow them to speak for him like that? Her step slowed, then stopped. He doesn't, she said softly. Sysco turned toward her. He doesn't know, she continued. About the pressure. About them hovering. He thinks I've got everything handled. Why wouldn't you tell him? Sysco asked gently. Kennedy swallowed. Her voice dropped. Because he has lung cancer. The words sat heavy between them. He's in treatment, she went on. Good days and bad. And I won't add disappointment or stress to his plate. Not now. Not ever. Sysco's expression shifted, something fierce and tender crossing his features at once. You're carrying more than a contract, he said quietly. She nodded. I always have. He stepped closer, not touching, but present. Protective without claiming ownership. You shouldn't have to do this alone, he said. She looked up at him then, eyes shining but steady. I don't need saving. I know, he replied. I just don't want you fighting battles you don't need to. For a moment, the world narrowed to the two of them. The noise, the pressure, the legacy, all suspended. And in that space, something undeniable settled between them. This was no longer just about business. It was about care. And neither of them was pretending otherwise anymore. Thorne was reviewing renderings when his phone rang. Unknown number, city prefix. He answered on the second ring. Thorne? Mr. Thorne, this is Councilman Reeves. Sysco straightened instinctively. Yes? I'll get straight to it, Reeves said. The review committee has concluded deliberations. The city would like to move forward with your proposal. The words landed clean. Final. Sysco closed his eyes briefly, not in relief, but in awareness. We believe your vision aligns with the city's long-term growth goals, Reeves continued. Your emphasis on land integrity, sustainability, and phased development resonated strongly. Sysco listened carefully, already thinking of Kennedy, of her precision, her legacy, her fight. We'll need your formal agreement by end of day, Reeves finished. Pending signatures, the contract is yours. A pause followed. Yes, Sysco said finally. I agree to the contract. There it was. The win. After the call ended, Sysco sat still, phone resting in his hand. The office felt too quiet. Victory usually came with adrenaline, celebration, validation. This one came with weight. He knew exactly who he needed to call, and exactly why he didn't, yet. Kennedy and her father. The hospital room smelled faintly of antiseptic and citrus wipes, a strange blend that had become familiar over the last few months. Kennedy sat in the chair beside her father's bed, her tablet tucked away, her phone face down on the small table between them. Here, she was not a contractor, not a negotiator, not a defender of legacy. She was just his daughter. Her father slept lightly, chest rising and falling with careful rhythm. The treatment had thinned him, softened him, but his presence still filled the room. When his eyes opened, they were sharp in the way that mattered. You're quiet, he said, voice rough but warm. That usually means you're carrying something. Kennedy smiled faintly. You always could tell. He shifted slightly, wincing before settling again. Come here. She leaned forward, resting her forearms on the bed, taking his hand carefully. It was warmer than she expected, weaker than she remembered. How's the sight? He asked. Busy, she replied. Good. The crews are solid. And the city project? There it was. Kennedy hesitated. Her father watched her closely, noticing everything she didn't say. "Talk to me," he said gently. "Not as the owner, as your dad." Her throat tightened. "They made a decision," she said quietly. His brows lifted. And? And we didn't get it. The silence that followed was deep, but not heavy. Her father nodded once, slowly, thoughtfully. "Okay," he said. That was it. No disappointment, no frustration, no correction. Just okay. Kennedy felt something crack open in her chest. "I didn't want to fail you," she said, voice breaking despite her effort. "Not now. Not when you're—" "Hey," he interrupted softly, squeezing her hand. "Look at me." She did. "This company was never about contracts," he said. "It was about character, about doing right by people, about building something that lasts, even when you don't win." Tears slid down her cheeks before she could stop them. "You didn't fail me," he continued. "You showed up, you fought, and you protected what mattered." She bowed her head, pressing her forehead lightly against his hand. "I'm tired," she admitted. "I know," he said, "and that's why I'm proud." She looked up at him, eyes wet. "The pressure from your sons—" "My sons will learn," he said calmly. "But you already have." She let out a shaky laugh. "You always know what to say." He smiled faintly. "That's my job." Kennedy sat with him as the afternoon light shifted across the room, her phone still face down, unread messages waiting. Whatever came next, she had told the truth. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like enough. Sysco found her where he suspected he would. Kennedy stood at the edge of the riverwalk just past the job site, hard hat tucked under her arm, staring out at the water like it might offer answers she hadn't asked for yet. The late afternoon light caught in her hair, outlining her in gold and grit. "Ken," he said softly. She turned, already reading the seriousness in his face. "You look like someone who didn't come to talk about weather." He gave a small, careful smile. "The city called." Her shoulders stiffened, but she didn't look away. "They offered me the contract," he said. "No easing into it, no dressing it up." "I accepted." The words landed exactly where she expected them to hurt. She nodded once. Slow. Controlled. "Okay." Not angry, not dramatic, just braced. "But," he continued, stepping closer, "I didn't come to tell you that alone." That caught her attention. "They want the project to move quickly," he said. "They want integrity, flow, community trust. And they want someone who understands the soul of the land, not just the structures on it." Her brow furrowed. "Sysco—" "I offered them you," he said gently. She stared at him. "What?" "Not Blick Construction," he clarified. "You, as lead designer, independent, operating outside your father's company." Her breath caught. "You see things others don't," he went on. "You build from legacy, but your real gift is vision. You don't just execute, you translate what a place wants to become." She shook her head slightly, stunned. "That's not—" "It is," he interrupted softly. "I've watched you. At the library, at the meetings, on your sites. You come alive when you're designing, when you're allowed to create without defending your right to be there." Silence wrapped around them. "You'd be free," he said. "No brothers hovering, no legacy tug of war. No pressure to prove you can carry what was never meant to be yours alone.
Why would you do this?
She asked, voice barely above a whisper. Why help me after winning? Sysco met her eyes fully now. No shields, no strategy. Because I don't want to be your competitor anymore, he said. I want to be the man who stands beside you. Her heart pounded. I want to court you, he continued, unflinching. Not chase, not pressure. Court. Show you what it feels like to flourish when you're no longer fighting. She searched his face for ego, for pity, for an angle. There was none. Only intention. You don't need rescuing, he added, but you deserve rest and space and partnership. Kennedy looked back at the water, emotions crashing through her in waves. Relief, fear, longing, disbelief. All her life, she'd chosen duty first, strength first, legacy first. No one had ever asked her what she wanted without attaching it to survival. Slowly, she turned back to him. If I say yes, she said, voice steady but trembling underneath, everything changes. Sysco nodded. I know. She inhaled deeply. Then, for the first time in her life, she answered without armor. Yes, she said. I choose me. The word yes barely left her mouth before Kennedy moved. It surprised even her. She closed the distance between them in 2 quick steps, hands fisting lightly in the front of his jacket as she rose onto her toes and kissed him, decisive, unfiltered, full of everything she had been holding back. For a heartbeat, Sysco froze. Then instinct gave way to choice. He accepted the kiss, not taking over, not overpowering, just meeting her where she was, steady hands coming up to her back as if to anchor the moment instead of rush it. The world narrowed, the river moving quietly beside them, time slipping just enough to let something real take root. She pulled back first, breath uneven, eyes bright. Sysco smiled slowly, wonder and promise tangled together. Well, he said softly, voice low with amusement and intention. If that's how we start, I know we're both going to enjoy this union. Kennedy laughed, a sound that felt lighter than anything she'd carried in years. She leaned in again, kissed him once more, shorter this time, playful, deliberate. Not so fast, she said, a teasing warning in her tone. I want to be courted like a lady. Sysco's smile deepened, warm, assured, reverent. Indeed, he replied. I will. Because you deserve to be. She stepped back then, just enough space restored to make the promise real. And as they stood there, 2 people choosing intention over urgency, it was clear. This wasn't a rush. This was a beginning done right.
Thank you for listening to Heart Chat Stories. Every story is written with love, to heal, to inspire, and to remind you that new beginnings are always possible. If this touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so others can find healing through story. Until next time, keep your heart open and your spirit lifted.